I was trying to take the bolt out, the whole thing ripped out. Or, and then right behind the driver's seat. That's actually where the driver's seat mounts. Oh, there goes a brake rotor. What's up, folks? Welcome to 802 Garage. I have some very surprising news. I actually got rid of a car. Today's video is all about my 2001 Nissan Sentra SE and the horrors that it held when I parted that thing out, and it finally went on a tow truck to the scrapyard today. So I'm going to show you the awful stuff that I found while I was taking that car apart. But first, real quick, a story time, because I do want to tell you how and why I got the car. So it starts almost 3 years ago. In January of 2017, I bought on Facebook Marketplace a 1996 Nissan 200 SX SE-R for $400. I honestly overpaid. It was an automatic. It was in bad shape. And that became my $500 turbo car challenge car. So check out those videos if you haven't, because I turbocharged it for under 500 bucks, and I do have more coming for that in the future, so get caught up if you haven't. Link up in the corner. Now, I didn't have a plan for the car when I bought it. I was thinking to myself, maybe if I find a cheap Miata, I can do an SR20 swap Miata. Never seen anybody do that. But I was naive at the time, didn't realize that the transverse SR20 DE doesn't actually have the same block casting as the longitudinal SR20, so it's not just bolt-on mounts. You'd have to do a bunch of crazy stuff to make that work, and it doesn't really make sense to try to make a transverse engine longitudinal in this case when the longitudinal engines are available. So that plan got scrapped, but I still had the car, and I was like, well, what can I do with it? And I already had a 1985 AW11 MR2 at the time. And to my knowledge, there are still no SR20 swapped MR2s in the world, and mine will hopefully be the first. But after I came up with that plan, I was back on Facebook Marketplace, as I often am, and I found a 2001 Nissan Sentra SE, which is basically the SER equivalent. At the time, they just dropped the R for 2000 and 2001. Who knows why? But that came with the later revision, the final revision for the USA, Roller Rocker SR20. Now, the basic difference with the Roller Rocker engine is the older solid lifter engines were 140 horsepower and 132 foot-pounds of torque, while the 2001 Roller Rocker is 145 horsepower and 136 foot-pounds of torque. So you're gaining 5 horsepower and 4 torques, which is pretty decent, plus potentially 1 mile per gallon. Woohoo! But basically, this car was only $200, and it was a manual, and I found out later that it was a performance package, which means it comes with fancy silver gauges. I can actually show you those right here. Ooh, nice. And it came with firmer suspension, don't care, it was all blown anyway, a spoiler, don't care, and a limited slip differential, which is really awesome. So I have all that right here. That's why I parted out the car. This is an SR20 DE Roller Rocker version with an LSD manual transmission. Pretty awesome. That's going in the MR2. As soon as I have time, I definitely want to get started on that this winter. But basically, while I was parting out that 2001 Sentra, I just found some of the worst stuff I've ever seen. The guy I bought it from said it was his daily driver until the clutch went out, so that setup does need a clutch. But looking at the car, I'm very glad he stopped driving it when he did, because some of the stuff I'm going to show you is pretty terrifying. And while the car did sit since March of 2017, and it was basically 2.5 years before we pulled it out of where it was sitting, I had help from Jacob from Rust Belt Garage and Steven from Cars Simplified, along with one of Jacob's friends, to start the part out, and then I finished it myself. The stuff you're going to see did not just happen while the car was sitting. So it's really good that it was off the road, but luckily this engine with, I believe, around 176,000 miles on it had a perfect compression test rating, and everything still sounded great. So pretty excited to get to use the engine, but for now, just enjoy some really creepy footage of what this car held for me, and also footage of it finally leaving on the tow truck today. Enjoy, everyone. Parting out this pile of junk Owens Sentra. I'm going all the way to town, and this is disgusting. In the headlining, all this mouse crap, and I found the nest. Like, oh my god, this is so bad. I know that if this goes in a video, it's going to be in the one called The Worst Car I've Ever Seen. That's part of it right there. Oh my god, how disgusting. Don't get me wrong, I've dealt with a lot of rodents before, like damage from them, but not in the headlining and not this much poop. And ugh, I'm just trying to get out the sunroof. All right, I just vacuumed all that mouse crap, and let me show you something Just so you know that this car was real classy. I believe that's a Bud Light Platinum lid, whatever you want to call it, cap. So you know they were drinking it in the car. Way to go, previous Nissan owner. Remember how I said this was the worst car I've ever seen? Well, that's where a seatbelt mount used to be. I was trying to take the bolt out. The whole thing ripped out, so that means in a crash, person in the back, this would have ripped out. Probably would have cut him up nice, too. Good job. On this episode of Worst Car I've Ever Seen, extracting the wiring harness, I could feed it through this hole, or I could make my own path. Yeah. Another quick episode of the worst Nissan of all time here after I put the wiring harness through there. I mean, look at this. But just look, I've already been vacuuming and that's all the rest I'm going to hear. I wonder if I can just like... Oh, it's on my phone. Well, anyway. Alright, I've got the carpet out, and I think this will give you a little clearer idea of why I say this is the worst car I've ever seen. Let's start right here with how under the driver it's cracking. Super rusty up there, the dead pedal's actually collapsed. That side doesn't look so bad, but then as we come back, passenger rear. All buckled there, holes through the floor. That's completely buckled up, dented inward from when we tried to jack it up. And then right behind the driver's seat. That's actually where the driver's seat mounts. Yep, it's doing good. It's doing... Oh, just pinched myself. Doing real good. You know? Holy crap. It's friggin' terrible. Almost done parting this thing out. Just got to whip out the last of the wiring harness, which I probably don't need any of this part. It's just body harness, but taking the whole wiring harness from this car because I wanna. More of the worst car ever. You can see I've been vacuuming, but look, there's still a huge rust pile over there. And this is the underside of the car. I mean, oh my god, obviously I just ripped out this e-brake cable. This is the last thing I'm taking off the car is the e-brake cables. And that's going to scrap. Well, guess what? Rolled the dead Nissan chassis out just in time for a real nice thunderstorm. New car right there. JDM WRX swapped, 2001 2.5 RS. I have no idea how much I'll have talked about this by the time you see this video, if and when it ever happens. Didn't even have time to close the door, it was raining so hard. But give this a looky-loo. We got fluids everywhere. This is after vacuuming many times. All this rust left on the ground. And here it is. Roller Rocker SR20, 145 horsepower, I believe. I want to say 142 torque, something like that. Complete with the subframe, all the accessories, at least 2 of which are locked up. I believe the alternator and the AC pump are no good. Leaking some fluids everywhere. Both axles. The, I believe, LSD transmission. Now that I have it out, I can hopefully confirm that, but I'm pretty confident it is the LSD model because this car should have had the performance package since it had this nice silver gauge cluster and the wing. And I also believe different shocks or springs than the normal car, but there it is. Also has the entire wiring harness, ECU right there, and this big old wiring harness. The Nissan wiring harness, let me tell you, is a mess. It comes out in so many pieces, and there's, like, look at all these different styles of connectors to merge the engine bay harness and the body harness, and that's not even all of them. There's more on the other maze fuse panel, there's another fuse panel in the engine bay, and there's another relay box in the engine bay. Like, man, it's kind of ridiculous, but that'll all be simplified when this goes into the MR2, of course. But engine in pretty good shape, compression checked well. Look at that thick jack shaft. That's pretty nice. Hopefully that bearing's good. These engine mounts are kind of toasty, but we'll see how I end up actually mounting this in the MR2. May go with the method of actually trying to use this subframe and see if I can attach it to the MR2 frame. Or I may just use these motor mounts and see if I can just kind of flip them up and attach them to the inside of the engine bay. We'll see how it all works out, but that's obviously a project for another time. considering that's going to be quite a bit of work, and I have a lot of other priorities right now. I still got to work on the GSX, still got to do a lot of stuff, still got to decide which parts I'm actually keeping or not. There's actually some in the trunk that are just getting soaked. Whatever. Sorry, I have the hiccups. And also sorry the audio is probably terrible, but this entire video is really just about showing you the worst car I've ever seen. The amount of rust on that thing was just incredible in so many key structural areas. It's just awful. But luckily, the SR20, being an aluminum block and head, not rusty. All the accessories, on the other hand, very rusty. Before I put this in the car, I'll probably do, you know, the water pump, and I'll probably swap, obviously, an alternator from another car. If I do hook up the AC compressor from the Turbo 200SX, stuff like that. But I do have, this is the 01 ECU, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to mess with it, although I think I could swap in an ECU, but really the plan for this is probably to go Speeduino or Micro Squirt or even Link ECU for this engine eventually, after I slap a big old turd ski on it and it's in the MR2. Probably not that big, actually. I want really low latency. Look, there's another part of that car. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited for this. If any of you need B15 Nissan parts, let me know, because I may still have them. I've got like friggin' everything here. Even the brake calipers, even though I don't know if they're good. I gotta clean up, folks. This is an interesting experience. My first time truly fully parting out a car. I mean, I had almost every nut and bolt off of that thing, except for suspension and the brace that goes across the cabin, like the dash bar. I didn't take that out because I wanted to leave it in for the scrappers, and I didn't take out the steering column or the steering rack and pinion, again, just basically for the scrappers, and I don't think they'd be useful to me. Maybe I should have taken the rack and pinion, but the only thing it might work for is this, and I know that they're different, so honestly, it's whatever. Yeah, this video's a mess, just like that car was. SR20. Gotta love them. I honestly do. I really think they're a cool engine. Nice tidy little package. Can't wait to throw this in the MR2. Real quick at the end here, I haven't even seen this yet, but let's see just how much rust was picked up by this vacuum. I don't know if it... Oh, that's like 3 inches deep, and it's mostly turned into powder, but this is all rust. There's obviously a lot of dust there too, but... Wow, just disgusting. Well, the worst car of all time is finally leaving. I'm gonna whip these wheels and tires off real quick. Yep.
Get that off anyway.
Yep, those will come off real easy.
Yep.
Wheels and tires off, I needed those. Drag this thing up and away it goes. Good riddance. Oh my god, this thing was rusty. Pile of junk. Oh, there goes a brake rotor. Both of the brake rotors actually fell off. Toss those back in. Oop. And that's the end of the rustiest, crappiest 2001 Sentra saga. And he's hopefully going to come back tomorrow and get the Yukon as well. So, bye-bye. Thanks for the SR20. Have a wonderful time. Whew. Foggy day out here. It's surprisingly warm, though, because it is December, but really misty. So, there you go, folks. Finally got rid of a car. Down to 11. We did have an unfortunate casualty in getting the Sentra moved off to the scrapyard. Sorry, Walmart wheel chalk. Guess it was your time. Spider creeping under there. Wonder if he was living under the wheel chalk. Well, that's going to be all for today, folks. If you made it all the way to the end and you're new here, please do subscribe. Otherwise, let me know in the comments what some of the scariest stuff you've seen on vehicles that are still on the road is. And yes, you can reference things you've seen on my channel. You will only hurt my feelings a little bit. Otherwise, like the video, you know, ring that bell so you can actually see when future stuff comes out. I am still releasing daily videos for now. Merch to come soon. Thank you all very much for watching 802 Garage. Catch you later. Bye-bye. Thanks for the SR20. Have a wonderful time.